Hello Nintendo fans, I'm Brascoin and welcome to the courtroom, I mean my channel. Today I'm here to talk about and discuss the newest Nintendo news, the Nintendo Switch OLED model. Nintendo has been very hushed about this new addition right up until this morning in fact. News of the console had been mere rumors and speculation, some with some pretty decent evidence like the OLED screen contract that appeared with Samsung. Many fans were dismayed by this newest entry into the Nintendo Switch family and I have to say, I kind of agree. But for different reasons than most. What is the Switch OLED model and why are so many fans upset by it? Well, let's dive into it, starting with a quick review of the new features that this system has. First and foremost, we have the model's namesake. The Nintendo Switch OLED model gets its name from, well, the biggest feature improvement for the console, its screen. The new Switch now features an OLED screen developed by Samsung. Why is this such a huge improvement? It comes from how the LED lighting in the system screen actually functions. A typical LED screen is classified as a passive light-emitting diode and relies upon a backlight that shines through colored diodes to give a pixel color. Because the backlight is constantly on, this makes it difficult to have true blacks, as some light is always going to go through one of the diodes where it isn't supposed to be. OLED, on the other hand, which stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, does as its name implies. The diode emits light organically, or the diode itself is actually emitting the light, not simply allowing light to pass through it. What this means is when a pixel is supposed to be off and black, it is completely off. This means that we will be able to experience sharper blacks and more crisp, accurate coloring. This is actually a large visual improvement for the Switch when we think about the overall improvement this gives to the graphics. The next upgrade the system received comes from the screen as well. Not only is it an OLED screen, but it is also a bigger screen as well. The new screen now features a size of 7 inches compared to the original Switch's 6.2-inch screen. Not a huge increase, but it is still something nonetheless. Another feature upgrade is one we haven't been told much about, but the system now features improved audio, for which I am excited. The original Switch does not have super great sound quality, and I don't often play in handheld mode because of it. I suspect that this feature will aid in providing a more rounded sound to help with issues that arrive when multiple players gather for tabletop mode. This Switch, of course, features a much needed improvement to the tabletop mode. In fact, due to the original Switch's terrible lopsided support, I never actually used tabletop mode successfully before. The new model features a wider kickstand support for tabletop mode and appears to span the width of the system. The last feature upgrade comes to the console dock itself. The OLED model Switch will feature a hardwired Ethernet for better, more stable and reliable internet access for online play. Maybe we can get that Smash Bros lag to stop being so bad? Brief summary aside, let's talk about the disappointment that many fans feel about the announcement and why. First up, we have the resolution, the RAM, and the processor. We will cover these three disappointment-inducing ideas together as they all go hand in hand. Many fans, upon hearing that Nintendo had made a deal with Samsung for the OLED screens we see today, imagined that the new screen would allow for better video resolutions and frame rates. Many believe that since the Switch was getting the screen upgrade we've known about for weeks, that the processor was improving to support it. What many failed to realize is that it takes pretty much the same amount of processing power to run the OLED screen than it does to run a basic LED screen anyways. Arguably, the OLED screen does consume slightly more power, but that is besides the point. So why not upgrade the hardware? Well, this would likely alienate Switch Lite users who would be unable to play games that required the heftier specifications and quite possibly the original Switch owners as well. If hardware allows for further developments, developers will utilize it, and I doubt that Nintendo would be so quick to jump down the 3DS and new 3DS rabbit hole again with the Switch. That was a confusing time for many who failed to read the box or simply didn't understand that there was a difference. The same thing would likely occur here, with some games being only playable on the OLED Switch version, while others played on all three variations. Since we brought up power in the last entry, let's dig a little bit deeper into it. The OLED Switch has not reported having a larger battery to support this new screen, disgruntling many fans. With the screen now consuming a bit more power, our on-the-go gaming sessions will have to be a little shorter. Though they weren't meant to last a long time to begin with, the entire premise is that this system is portable. However, your power cable is also portable, and you can utilize the AC adapter for car rides. Nevertheless, it does prove problematic in long plane rides, and topping out anywhere from 2.5 hours to 6.5 hours, depending on the life of your Switch, the audio and display settings, that is a decent amount of time to play on the go in most situations. Let's return to the screen size for a moment. As mentioned earlier, the screen size grows from a 6.2 size screen to a 7-inch screen. While that is an improvement, it is not a huge amount of size growth. Many fans have expressed their dismay, saying it isn't even a full inch size upgrade. So why isn't the screen bigger? Well, if we compare the Switch sizes, we can see that they are roughly the same size height-wise. The change here happens with the width. The screen gets wider, and with that getting wider, it's natural that the screen will get a little bit taller. To account for this, it appears that Nintendo has taken away the bevel of the old Switch and has allowed the new screen to take up more of the Switch's actual surface area. When we take into account the fact that the Joy-Cons will remain the same size and that they will still fit flush with the new system, it is easy to see why Nintendo wouldn't make the Switch much taller, necessitating the bigger Joy-Cons, which would quickly confuse buyers when trying to purchase new controllers for either system. Speaking of controllers, that leads us directly into another issue: the drifting Joy-Cons. Nintendo did and still does have the long-awaited opportunity to fix these issues with the Joy-Cons' random drifting problems. While Nintendo has been fixing users' controllers for free, it would be a far better financial and marketing decision to simply fix the issue to begin with, restyle the controllers, and provide a better experience for the player overall. The Joy-Cons could definitely use some work in that dreaded Joy-Con drift area, and this would in some ways have alleviated the issue of the screen size restriction, as they could now have larger Joy-Con to be flush with it. This would also alienate the current Switch owners, as the controllers would not sit flush with their current consoles, and I can see how that would be frustrating. A double-edged sword for Nintendo for sure. That being said, Nintendo is no stranger to weirdly shaped controllers, so as Nehru has said himself, I feel very confident that Nintendo could figure out a way to have a bigger screen while having the same Joy-Cons. End quote. They could have easily made a design that tapered into the size of a Joy-Con, similarly to the shape of the Game Boy Advance, if you will. Perhaps the most well-received information is a fix to many players' grievances requiring the use of a third-party dongle to receive a hardwired LAN Ethernet connection for improved internet speed and connectivity. With LAN now being a part of the Switch dock, it is a huge upgrade, but why aren't more people excited about it? Well, internet speeds are just one half of the issue. Historically, Nintendo's online functions have been tediously difficult to connect with and chat with friends during play, requiring the use of an app on a smartphone in some cases, or the use of Discord in others. Speaking of which, there is a link to my Discord below if you feel like chatting up Zelda theories, painting the town in Splatoon, having a nice unfriendly race in Mario Kart, or kicking my trash at Smash Brothers. Plug-in aside, Nintendo needs to step up their game in the online area, and many fans agree. So after all that, what's the verdict? What is Nintendo thinking with this OLED model of the Switch? The verdict is that the Nintendo Switch is only 4.5 years old, and it still shows a good life ahead of it. Nintendo is only interested in making improvements to the Switch, not making a new console. The Switch is the highest selling system they have ever made, with a gigantic library to choose from that only continues to grow. This system has a huge amount of support from indie developers, and Nintendo stands to make a lot of money from the console for years to come. What is Nintendo thinking? Nintendo is likely thinking of enticing other users to buy the new Switch when their old Switch dies, convincing a few current owners that these small improvements are worth a renewed investment in the entertainment, and bringing in new customers that have had some hesitancy with the purchase by giving them a little bit higher quality experience. Bottom line, Nintendo isn't marketing the OLED Switch model to current Switch owners. Nintendo is marketing the new Switch to new customers. If you are interested in buying it, do so. If you aren't impressed with it, don't buy it. But don't hate Nintendo for not giving us our desired features. We hyped up those features. We created those false expectations. There is a reason why Nintendo did not announce this improvement earlier. It was never intended to be the next big console. It was only intended to be a small improvement to create a few more fans. With that, the semi-defense rests. And that being said, I am still super excited for this console to release and will be pre-ordering it as soon as it is available to do so. It's not a huge improvement, I know, but I think it's still pretty cool. Thank you all so much for watching, and consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed already. I am trying to get that community tab at 1,000 subs so that I can interact with you all a little bit better, figure out what type of videos you all are interested in, and host better giveaways. I plan to do a giveaway of my Loftwing Princess Zelda amiibo when it arrives in the mail on July 16th, so look forward to that if we meet that goal. Thank you once again for watching, and 1,000 subs, here we come.